Welcome back to Cyber Stories Unlocked, the podcast where I bring you fascinating stories and insights from the world of cybersecurity. Before we dive in today's episode, I like to start this with a quick disclaimer. The call that you're going to hear was actually recorded back in December last year. Alright, today I'm excited to have a guest whose career is a testament to expertise, dedication, and evolution in the field. With nearly 20 years of experience in IT, he's a well rounded, hands on cybersecurity professional who's built a strong foundation in enterprise networking and security operations. His journey into cybersecurity began as a security engineer for the largest ISP in New Zealand, a role that laid the groundwork for a stellar career. Now, based in Australia, he's currently working as a CSIR technical lead, helping his organization stay resilient in the face of cyber threats. His blend of technical depth and real world experience made him the perfect guest to share insights on everything from securing networks to leading incident response teams. I'm thrilled to have him on the show. Please join me in welcoming Alexander. Welcome to the podcast, Alex. How you doing?
Hey, thank you. I'm good.
Let's get started. So many people, find the world of cybersecurity fascinating and intriguing. Would you share with us how you broke into the industry?
Yes, so for me, as you mentioned, I started as um, system and network engineer back in 2005, actually. So it's 20 years next year. I work as a Windows and network guy for quite a while, for 10 years, and then in 2016, when I moved over to New Zealand, this is actually where I started with cyber. So I attended the uni course, um, postgrad diploma in cyber, in IT with major in cyber. Actually, it was, I think. And yeah, this is how it started. So I found a relevant job after that and never looked back. To be honest, well, sometime I do look back, but yeah, normally I don't. um, yeah, so this is it, I guess.
Okay. So, was there any specific event or a security breach that you watched on TV, on the news that made you think and realize, man, cybersecurity is probably a career that I would like to pursue?
Oh yeah, look, back in when it all started for me, my interest started around early 2000s actually in this, but there wasn't funny times. There was no such thing as cybersecurity industry back then. There was no Kali Linux. There was no offensive security courses. There was no blue side. There was no red side. There was pretty much nothing. There was Windows NT. There was a little bit of Linux out there, and actually Unix, I guess, was even more the thing than the Linux. And my particular problem was that I was interested in this, but I didn't have access. There was literally zero materials available out there, which you can use to do your self study or your research or anything like that. So this is why I have to pause this career for a long while. And I started doing networking, which was kind of in the same situation as cyber now. So it was very young back then. And this was quite exciting, actually. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Um, Up until yes, I moved over to New Zealand. So yeah,
Yeah. So, because it was early and different times,
yeah,
back in the 2000s, and you were facing these obstacles where there was no information about cybersecurity or pen
yes,
testing or defense. So, but nowadays, for somebody who's trying to look and break into the industry, different times, completely different. We have a lot of
yeah.
segregation and a lot of branching within cybersecurity. What would be, from back then to today, what would be something that you would advise for those newcomers in cybersecurity?
I would say do your homework. This is probably the best thing I can think of. And look, literally now everything is out there. You just need to find the right source of information. There's pros and cons actually. So it comes with a price. There are a lot of uh, information that is not correct, or something like people, I called them security pretended security experts, so who talked a lot about cyber, but quite often if you dig a little bit deeper, you realize that this person likes to talk about cyber, for instance, but he never touched it himself. So, but yeah, it's not going to stop anyone from getting into the industry. So basically, just go out there, find your area of interest. Is it offensive, defensive, governance? I don't know, architecture, whatever, and try to learn as much as you can, like broad. I think that um, for a new starter, it's very important to get in like as much exposure as it's possible and get broad rather than get deep. Because when you get a particular role in the area you're interested in, this is where you actually start getting deep, right? But before you secure your role, it's very good, and it will be very helpful for you later on down the track if you know how, I don't know, operation system works, how network works, if you have your hands on, I don't know, application development, or if you know how to disassemble thing, right? So people back then again, and it's actually in early our days as well. People went to cybersecurity from other areas, so cyber was not the first kind of step in the career. So now it's a little bit different. Now you can go to uni, get your cyber degree, and start looking for a cyber job. So it's getting more mainstream, if you like. So back then it was more of a, I don't know, not an underground thing, but the thing when the industry bloomed, suddenly popped up. Everybody started to get in there, and everybody came with their own background, and it was awesome actually because you had such a diversity of people from different backgrounds that if you look at the something, I don't know, I'm going to talk on the blue side of things because this is what I mostly be doing. And if you look at the something and you're trying to understand what's happened there, but you have no idea, but next to you have someone who works as a developer, and you can ask him like, "Hey, why I'm seeing this? What is it?" He said, "Oh, this is, I don't know, something coming out of .NET compiler or whatever, and this is how this compiler normally put things together, and this is the trail, and this is what you can extract out of it. Maybe he can give you some idea about IOCs or something like that." So this is awesome, and this was actually the thing um, when the industry is very young and a lot of people coming from different from all walks of life actually. So now it's a bit more challenging and it's more emphasized on the self studies. So to get here, you need to study 10 times more than we had to study back then, I guess. So it's quite challenging, yes.
Yeah, so you've mentioned and you've done the formally cyber bachelor's as well in uni back in New Zealand. You've got
Yeah.
experience hands-on on it. You also have a background in networking, which is very established. But when you are hiring new members of your team, do
Yeah.
you always do you always look for somebody who has certification and who's done the formal studies, or,
No.
or would you look somebody who's mostly hands-on or has done yeah
Yes.
what is the thing that you look for when you're hiring?
The only thing I'm look for, if we're talking about junior roles, right, and entry roles, I'm looking on the way people think. So I work in the blue side of things again, and in order to work in the blue side, you have to have a certain mindset. So you have to be investigator, if you like, right? So because you often have to go there and based on bits and pieces try to reconstruct the event. And this is the only thing actually I'm looking at. So I don't look at the certs because I've seen a lot of people who have certs but they don't uh, fully support on these certs. So if you start asking them questions from these certs and the area of expertise, they don't feel comfortable. Yeah, so it's a little bit. So certs are kind of lost a little bit in the value, in my opinion, like for the last 10 years. So no, that's definitely not something. And same probably with the degree. So I would gladly hire a person without a degree or without any paper if they came to me and I give them the scenario, and in this scenario they can tell me, okay, so I don't know how to write it in Splunk query language, but in plain English, I would go in this particular log source or in this particular index and try to find this particular thing. Like if we're talking again about phishing or something, so if person tell me that you need to go to your proxy logs or your, I don't know, layer 7 application logs and try to find HTTP put requests. So this is something that is a good sign for me. Like it's a good, very good thing.
It is more about the way that they
Mindset.
analyze the
Yes.
mindset. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, it's good to
Mindset
know.
and the interest in what they actually doing. So this is very kind of challenging to test, but
Yes.
this is the second thing. Without maybe even the first thing, without it you can't do anything. But it's probably for any area. It's not only cyber. So anyway, so yeah.
So have passion for it, right? Being
Yes,
ready to invest,
exactly.
not just
Yes.
a lot of your time. Yeah.
Yes.
And do a lot of self-studying,
You
self-learning.
you have to get like some fun out of it, right? So if you're getting fun out of what you're doing, it means that you're going to be good in it. Otherwise, if you're just like there for to tick the box, that's it might do, but yeah, not
Yeah,
always.
yeah, no, it's true, it's true. So do you think that, self-education and self-learning plays a lot building your career in cybersecurity?
100%. Like
Okay.
again, it depends on which area of cyber you're interested in. But look, without self-study nowadays, you can't do anything. Like back then, it was difficult. Nowadays, it's just impossible because there's so many things. And the other thing, I'm actually going to the previous question. I would not suggest people to focus on a particular technology, but rather think broadly and try to understand what this technology is actually using underneath. Let's say, I don't know, if we're talking about a particular programming language. So instead of learning a particular programming language, because we all have limited time and limited resource, try to focus on some generic principles of any programming, like decomposing your task. So if you have a bigger task, to write it in a program, you need to decompose it to a smaller task, like very simple, ideally atomic, what they call it. So it's a single step operation, which is allow you to implement this operation in particular programming language, and try to learn some pseudocode, what they call. So this is normal plain English, but it will allow you to reconstruct the way your future program or application is going to work. So draw a diagram. So even with a pen and paper, this is, if you learn how these parts work, you can learn any language, any programming language within few days. So basically for you, it's going to be a matter of learning a new syntax. That's it. So the same with cyber. It's nothing different really. So instead of learning, I don't know, new CM like Splunk, and tomorrow is going to be IBM Curator, and then it's going to be Sentinel. Try to think of like the concept that actually sits underneath it. Like, what are you trying to learn? Okay, so if when you're trying to address phishing, again, going to previous example, try to learn how the phishing works. What are the attributes of the phishing? How would in the logs the attempt to access your environment going to look like, or how you can identify if user actually clicked the phishing links, that sort of thing. They are way, way, way more important, and they're way actually easier to learn than the actual syntax of particular vendor. So
Right.
that's my
Right.
view, at least.
No, thank you. Wise words from you, Alexander. So you've mentioned phishing a couple of times, and
Mm,
it's crazy, because with 2024 and we still talking about phishing. I've been to also
yes.
conferences, and when we talk with other professionals in the industry, we're still talking about phishing. What do
Yeah.
you think are some of the challenges the cybersecurity professionals are facing nowadays?
Oh, look, there's heaps of challenges. So again, talking on our side of things, I would say that fighting false positives is a big, 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 big thing. In particular for phishing, I would say that analysis is getting more complicated. So previously it used to be just looking at the headers and say, oh, okay, cool. It said that it came from Microsoft. It actually came from, I don't know, yahoo.com and then that sort of thing. So it was reasonably straightforward. Nowadays, they send you through stuff like, I don't know, QR codes and other things. That, first of all, it requires more efforts to analyze. And the second, it's it's not something easily you can block with a traditional email security gateway or something. So there's no such thing like, okay, if you see QR codes coming in, just block it on the perimeter and don't care about it. So it's getting more complicated, but look, the concept behind it is still the same. There's a very good book actually that I think sparked my overall interest in the cyber, which is called The Art of Deception from Kevin Mitnick.
Okay.
It's partially about this and the phishing, so it's focused heavily on the social engineering aspect of cybersecurity and security in general. And there are a few amazing case studies he go through there, and it's just like it's totally awesome. I mean, I loved it, and it makes me look at a few things in a totally different angle. And I actually working in IT for quite a few years by this time when I read it. I think it was around 2009 when it was published. I actually realized that yes, I saw it as well. I just didn't know that it can be used in this way, and it's actually a social engineering. But yeah, it's funny, it's easy to read, and I would recommend it to everyone, to be honest.
Okay.
Um,
I'll check it
and
out myself.
yeah, totally. He wrote a few books, I think 3 or 4. I think I read only 2, and I loved them. So maybe I'll have some time later on. Guy passed away, unfortunately, last year, so he's not gonna write anything new. But yeah, he's an awesome guy. He's quite amazing
Yeah.
history as well, if you read about him. Yeah.
I heard I used to follow him on LinkedIn as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so well, as a defender, fighting false positive, fighting how we are analyzing new threats and how the threats are evolving, and the containment
Yep.
time and remediation is taking a new turn with all this other technology and evolution. But
Yes.
if you would put yourself a little bit, outside the defense side, and as a company, uh, as an outsider, how do you see companies trying to face this new era that is coming in cybersecurity?
Um, I have a strong feeling that companies, well, they always been doing that actually, but recently it's getting more obvious. So companies start trying to rely on a particular technology. Let's say the big buzzword AI now, right? Everything is
Yes.
AI. You go anywhere you want, you get AI. And even though these large language models, they're not actually in AI, to be honest. At least from my amateur point of view. So because effectively it's just a quick search over the vast database which is generating your answer. So it's not actually thinking, it's not actually creating it for you. It's just searching for it and giving you whatever you ask for it. So and company is buying it, and every other vendor is, whenever they publish anything or they release a new tool, they say, "Oh, that's a silver bullet. It's going to close all your gaps. It's going to tick your box in compliance. It's going to do your phishing. It's going to do your, I don't know, DLP and everything you want. We can sell it to you." And it's actually a trend I can see in the people as well, like who's coming in, that they getting more reliant on the technologies. And sometimes it's more difficult for them. It's one of my favorite questions on the interview again. Like, what are you going to do if your SOAR fails? How are you going to do the same that what you just told me, but manually? And quite often people get stuck with it and say, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. So yeah, his tool is not
Exactly.
working. It's time to pack up and go home. So,
Yes,
well, okay.
there is a lot of professionals that rely on tools mostly,
Yeah,
heavily,
yeah,
if not to say 100%, but heavily. Like
yeah,
in your words, if tool doesn't work, then
yeah.
we just probably
And
pack up and go home.
company is doing the same thing. So they are not thinking on they probably not doing the proper threat analysis. They buying the solution that vendor happily sell them, saying it's gonna cover all your gaps, and they buying it, they putting it in place, and they sitting happily and they say, yeah, we're safe. We bought a good solution from a well-known vendor. It's all good. We're gonna be safe. So I think that the more like complexity and AI and all the rest things is adding up to existing tool set, the more the kind of buying it, if you like. So it's not a few companies, I think, that can view through this mist of sales stuff. But yeah, I don't know. That's my view, at least. That's what I
Yeah,
see
yeah,
in my area.
yeah. Yeah. No, fair point. So, do you think how do you see cybersecurity in the next 5 or 10 years? You did mention the influence of AI nowadays,
Mm.
but are you looking forward to any specific area or technology?
Yes, I think it's going to change the way we work as expected. I mean, having the vast amount of information on your fingertips, effectively, this is what our existing large language models are. It gives you lots of opportunities, but we still, again, as I say, so it's not quite an AI yet. So there are still areas that is going to be very difficult to cover with the existing level of technology. If it gets evolved in the next few years, then it will be a different conversation probably. But if we talking here about the job security for the people who just entering the industry, I would suggest to focus on the things that machine is not able to do, and they won't be able to do for a very long time. Things like being creative. So, in my understanding, the red side of things is won't be automated and replaced with AI for a very long time, as long as AI is not going to be like AI from capital A and capital I. Uh, it's like something that cannot at the moment replace the way human thinks and the way we can invent and maybe even combine the well-known things together rather than just the analogy would be rather than trying the brute force. So existing AI in the job market, you can think of it as a brute force. So it has a vast dictionary of the passwords, and it's trying to throw everything until something works. And what normally humans do, they trying to think, analyze first, and then out of these 10 million words in a dictionary, they're picking up the one that is most relevant to a particular situation. And quite often they had a better result. So I think that, yeah, this is not going to be covered by AI for a very long time. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe Elon Musk send everyone to Mars and AI is going to rule the Earth or something like that. It's an option as well. But
It is an
yeah,
option, absolutely. Yeah.
yes. So creativity is something that is existing level of technology, and AI in particular can't replicate. So
Okay.
be creative. I guess that's
Well, there you go. Something to think about, something to take away with us. So, Alex, it's hard to start a networking in the industry of cybersecurity because you don't know where to go, what to say. But how important do you think networking and having a mentor in your career when you're building a cyber career security is?
I would say, I mean, I have a perspective from two different points of view. So I used to work in Russia, and networking over there is, I wouldn't say that it's much important. It's kind of important, but not to that extent that it is over here in Australia and in New Zealand region, at least. So over here, it is very important, and you have to be known in the industry if you want to go, I don't know, reasonably high up. Um, Maybe because it's the way things work here. Maybe because it's just, um, I don't know, people like to work with someone they know. But
Yes.
again, let's put it in the perspective. Like if you went there and made a talk in black hats in in Singapore and Las Vegas or somewhere, I bet the amount of the requests in your LinkedIn with the offers of work is gonna skyrocket. I would assume. I don't know. I never did it, but I would assume because this is it's like recruiting is always two-way street. So it's you getting something out of the company, and the company apparently it's boosting the ego, if you like, if someone well known and well respected working for them. So this is I saw a few times where people trying to make things up in their CV in this regard, and to, to to show that they're famous and they well known. It might play the good thing, might be the bad thing. I don't know. It's just sometimes.
It's a little bit of a
Um,
gamble, right?
yeah, it is a gamble. It's always a gamble. So you don't know. It's the importance of networking should not be underestimated. And again, it's a good way of learning things. So even if you don't have an option to learn at home, you can go to. I myself, I'm actually quite often listen to SANS webcasts. They have an amazing webcast. They are a little bit behind of the what's on the edge of the, I don't know, technology now, unless it's an emergency for 0-day CVs or something like that. But it's very good. It's very detailed, and I like the mm, people they invite there. They kind of know what they're talking about. So this is again going back to the thing I mentioned, that a lot of you have to filter the information coming your way. So nowadays you have a lot of information, but you have to be very careful in terms of what you actually accepting and what you think that is correct, or you have to verify it. So there's new challenges, new era, new challenges.
Always, always.
How do you usually keep yourself up to date with what's going on in the cybersecurity world? Is there anything that you would recommend to anybody specifically?
Yeah, look, there's no again right answer in this for this question, because we all prefer the different methods of learning and the different forms of comms. So I prefer, as I mentioned, I use them quite often Sans podcast, but they are a little bit behind, so they are not going to tell you any kind of modern day thing, but something from a couple months back, yeah, you can take from there. There's heaps of news services you can subscribe to. There are. I'm actually using it in a bit different way. So I'm subscribed to a bunch of threat intel feeds, and I'm kind of doing what I call reverse news. So whenever something comes through from a threat intel feed, a particular IC from Alien Vault, for instance, or something like that, I see it in my mailbox. I said, oh, okay. and I see for new variant of, I don't know, Lockbit ransomware or whatever. I say, okay, so probably there's a new variant of Lockbit ransomware getting there in the wild, and I'm starting to, if it's an interest for me, this particular uh, news event, I'm going back and going to Google and start googling about this, like when it came up, what's known about it, what is the targets, what are the targets, so that sort of thing. Because I found it easier for me. There's way too many sources of information, and it's easy to get like lost in them. It's
Yes.
easy to get like information overload. So I'm trying to kind of narrow it down and very well refine my news feed that is coming in, because I only have like certain amount of time in my day to go through it. And apparently, in my company, we have a dedicated intelligence team. They kind of keeping us up to date with the daily briefings. They're doing a pretty good job. So this is kind of a lazy, easy way of staying up to date.
Yep.
But yeah, on top of that,
Okay.
whenever I have time on weekend, I watch this podcasts and
Okay.
doing my reverse news.
Reverse news. Just always cross
Yes,
matching what you find interesting, or what it lands in your mailbox.
yes, yeah. There's
Yep.
quite a few
Yep.
things landed there, so I'm trying to filter it out as much as I can. So yeah,
All right. All right. Thank you.
yep.
And you know,
Networking actually can be a pretty good source of information as well. The things you mentioned, if you are part of particular group, or I don't know, like ISACA here is bigger in APAC region, and that's something. So
mm,
they quite often like to together to go together and talk about certain things and discuss it. And somebody likes this format more, and totally.
yeah, a bit more social as well,
Yeah.
face-to-face interaction. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
True. Um. So, what is the most rewarding aspect of working in cybersecurity, in your
Okay.
in your opinion?
Mm, I would say that for me, it's a bit of a this thing I mentioned earlier, like being trying to, I don't know, maybe playing detective a little bit and trying to reconstruct the events that happened before. And this sort of feeling when you actually get to the root cause and you say, okay, now I know what's happened. So this and
Mm.
this, and you figure it out using the trail of the breadcrumbs, and at the end you kind of getting your prize. So this is it's kind of probably
As a
something that keep me motivated, I guess, to do that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. I mean, I share the feeling, once you find the root cause of whatever's firing some security alerts, and you feel very rewarding, like,
yes,
we found it, we got
and
it, and this is how it happened.
learning apparently. So I
And
mean,
learning.
no matter how
Yes.
high you go and how many years of experience you have, you still like it's a very vast area. It's a huge area. You can't learn everything, even half of it, maybe even a quarter of it. So just be aware of the people who say they know everything. Is very shady, I would say. But yeah, look, you keep learning. You just try to learn as much as you can. You pick your area of interest. Sometimes it goes a little bit sideways. I had actually, sorry, I'm just sidetracked for a second. I had witnessed an amazing talk in a Christchurch conference a few years ago. The guy was talking about not really hacking, but tampering with the GPS and how to substitute GPS signal, the way it works. It's not quite a cyber, but it was like totally amazing. Or there was another talk, not in there. It was one of the Black Hat, I think, talks where the guy tried to put the analogy of or look at the DNA perspective, how to decode DNA, put it into cyber and merge it into cybersecurity world. This is like it's something like mind blowing. So the way people, and this is what again AI can never replace, or at least now cannot replace in the near future. So this is the way, like combining something totally mad from the first point of view, and then when you actually listen to it, you say, okay, yeah, it does make sense. It's outside of that learning something within the cyber. It's you I don't know, start learning something suddenly in microbiology, how DNA works,
I
what's
know.
RNA, what's DNA. So like it's awesome. Maybe tomorrow you'll be interested in biology and you drop everything else. Ah, screw you guys. I'm gonna go and learn for
Biology.
biologists. You never know. So it's awesome.
Okay. Alex, just for some final thoughts, what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about pursuing a career in cybersecurity? For anybody who's listening right now.
Follow your dreams. I guess that's the best advice. I mean, if you want to get somewhere, you will find a way sooner or later. Uh, Cyber is not different from any other industry, to be honest. It's just like any other industries, like in my again past, when the network was young, the network engineering was young. It had the same challenges, so it's just the step we're going through now in cyber. So it used to be young, it's now getting more mature, and when we get to a certain level of maturity, if you like, it's becoming a mainstream, and things are settled down eventually. But like, look, looking at the industry now, there's always a shortage of people who actually love what they're doing, and even more who know what they're doing. So if you have both, you're gonna be
Great at
very
what you're
good
doing.
situation anyway. Yeah, but
Yeah.
basically, like, try to touch as many things as you can with your own hands without breaking the law. I mean, for those who pursuing the red side of thing, it's very easy to break the law. And yeah, but all this, I'm not gonna say all this like well-known thing like hack the box and CTF challenges and all the rest. It's everybody knows about that. The problem with them, actually, I went down this path myself, and I bumped into that. Even though these challenges and those CTFs they marked as a beginner, they or maybe I'm dumb. I don't know. I never was able to do anything beginner level because it's there's a very big gap between what you read in the books and what when you try actually do things with the hands on yourself.
Yep.
So there is this is and I don't know honestly if you ask me like what to do about it, I don't know because for me I tried to took OSCP actually a couple of years ago. I went easily through the book. I went easily through a bunch of chapters in there. But when I had to step away and start doing things with the hands, quite often I couldn't do the beginner level challenges because there is like a very big gap between theory and actual practice, and I don't know how to cover it. I don't think anyone is actually covering it enough nowadays. So probably the best strategy for now is just keep trying and try it yourself. Whoever is going to be able to invent any kind of courses or studies or anything that is going to cover this gap is going to be on the top of the industry, 100%. Because, I mean, I shared my view with a few people, and they say, yes, I had the similar thing. Even though they wanted to try their hands in these kind of challenges, they they don't have an option to step over this gap. And like when you have a certain level of experience, and again, it's on the red side thing I'm talking about now, you can move on and you can kind of do things. But to start, it's a very different story. And I don't know, like I don't have a very good advice about how to do that rather than just
Yep.
keep trying. And sometimes what I found useful again, just to read the write-ups like other people put in there, and try to just replicate it. It's sort of a similar with the way you try to learn play musical instruments, if you like, right? Because you can't just sit there on the piano and play, I don't know, Tchaikovsky or whoever
Mm.
straight away, unless you're a genius, and there are geniuses out there, 100%. But most of us are more of a on the hard working side than
Of
actually
course.
on the genius side.
We gotta
And
practice.
yeah, yeah. So you got to practice and keep repeating what someone else was doing before you, up until the point where you feel comfortable and familiar enough with what you're doing to be able to try to improvise. So this is, I guess, yeah, that's the kind of the way you can do it. But I saw quite a few people who did OSCP straight away from the uni, at least
Oh,
what they put in the CV, and I was like, wow, that's OSCP is a very tough thing. Don't get
yes.
me wrong. The exam is tough. The study is tough as well. So it's pretty much they're just throwing you into the pool when you don't know how to swim, and you have to learn as you swim. So this is sort of
Yeah.
approach they're taking. Um, didn't work well for me. So yeah, again, I'm probably not smart enough. I will try to take it later on, maybe at some point when I
Yeah.
have time or a little bit more time. But I still recommend this course to everyone who works in cyber. Just even if you're blue guy, it's opening your eyes on how things work on the other side of the fence,
Yeah.
and how, like, looking at communication happening on port 444 rather than it's known bad thing. If you doing the blue side of thing only, you will actually know what it is and how it works. Okay, so there's probably a listener sitting on your host, and the listener is going somewhere, and you can actually go to the host and think of, okay, what can I search for to make sure it is actually a listener or interpreter sitting here. What is his masking as? It's a heaps of things you can learn from looking around you, not just trying to narrow it down to a particular area of interest of yours. So this is, yeah, but I don't know. There's no easy answer on
Yeah.
how to start. I don't have it. Maybe
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
had it,
Yeah.
I might be, yeah, setting up
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
own company and helping people how to do that. But
Yeah.
I'm not
It's
quite there
true.
yet. So, yeah.
It's true, it's true, and everybody builds their own career path differently, you know. For some
Absolutely,
people,
yes,
like you said, out of uni, they go and see the OSCP, which is the Offensive Security certification. The exam is very exhausting. It's, if I'm not
yes,
wrong, 24 hours exam.
yes. It's 24
Yeah,
hours non-stop. Well,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, yeah. But yeah, I mean, 24 hours exam. Wow, wow.
yes. It's proper.
But
The guy's looking at you is actually from your webcam, so you can't go anywhere now.
really,
Yes,
you can't take breaks.
you can take breaks, but it's limited, I think, to three, and you can have a short nap. But you have to notify the proctor that, hey, I'm going to take a nap. So it's ridiculous, but yeah,
Okay, okay. Well, I didn't know these things. Yeah,
yeah,
good to
yeah.
know. Thanks for sharing. So Alex, before we close this, I want to know like the experience and expertise in your work. Like, is there any exciting project that you worked on, uh, or perhaps any response that you were part of? Obviously, without sharing confidential details, but would you be able to share with us some in high level?
Yeah, look, there's quite a few exciting things I'm working on now as as being a tech specialist or tech team lead now. Uh, Most of them actually, funny enough, not on the blue side of things. So we have quite a lot of things touch based with the red team. So we running the purple exercises, which are sort of a bit of a drill. Like when your blue team engaging with your red team, and red team pretending they get a foothold or they break into your company, and the blue guys trying to figure out what's happened, how they get in, yes, what they can do about it, how to contain it.
How
It's
to
a very
contain
good
it?
thing because I'm not a big fan of playbooks in general. Uh,
Okay.
they are very popular in blue team. I know they are. I know they can be good, but I am mostly not in favor of the bad side of playbooks. And the bad side of the playbooks, they actually cripple people's thinking. So when you have a scenario in front of your eyes and you're following it over and over again, what it makes in a few months' time, or maybe in a year's time, people stop thinking again creatively. So they are just following scenarios. It's the same way like we were talking about the tools, right? If your tool is broken, I don't know what to do. I don't have
Yeah.
tools. Time to go home. So playbooks, they are the tools in this way. So maybe it's just the way that modern way of looking at the playbooks done, and maybe if companies try to make it a little bit different, like the playbook about that you actually been compromised, and the ransomware threat actor or the threat actor, like state-sponsored threat actor, any threat actor, is already inside of your network. So you failed, accept it, it's good. What you can do about it? And this is where it's kind of turning into tabletop exercise, a purple exercise, if you like, where you don't have defined scenarios because on a high level, yes, you know it's bad. And you know that, okay, we have network contained in our EDR technology. We have, I know, at the end of the day, we can go there, just try to rip off the cable from the switch and to prevent it from spreading out, right?
Yep.
But you never actually tried it. And you don't know if it's going to work. You know, in theory, how to contain your domain controller, let's say. That's a stupid thing, but nonetheless. But you never tried it. And this is something that actually blue guys should be able to do. Because when it comes to this point in in your work life, you have to know how to do it. You can write 1,000 articles about it. You can read 1,000 articles about it. But if you never tried it, when it gets to this point, like 99%, it's not gonna go the way you intended to go. Right?
Right.
Until you tried it and you kind of very confident in what you're doing and what exactly you can expect from it. One of my favorite sportsmen, Mike Tyson, said everyone has a plan just up until the point they got a punch in the face. So the plan is always there, but have you actually tried to make it work ever? And this is kind of thing that is quite exciting for me. So other than I'm just learning from the red guys what they're doing, sneak peeking like over the shoulders, I'm actually trying to test the existing playbooks
Yep.
or write ups or whatever you call them to how they are actually can be attributed in real life scenario and what's going to happen if you get to the point that is not in your playbook. What are you going to do about it?
Wow.
So
Wow.
this is kind of, and if you actually able or someone is able to write it down without turning it into script, as I mentioned in the beginning, because when you turn something into script, step left, step right from the script, it might be difficult after a certain amount. People get used to a particular script and they kind of try to stick with it. That's the way our brain works. It's not something to do with particular people or skill set or anything. It's just our humans are lazy. This is the nature of humans. So they are lazy and trying to find an easy way of doing things. So if there is an easy way and you know it, you're gonna do it an easy way.
Wow, this is a big one. Putting to test playbooks or runbooks or procedures that companies have already in place and testing them, from time to time. They could easily go out of date. And yeah, good luck. And I hope you have a lot of fun. Any last words from you? Anything you would like to share?
Um, I guess we just discussed it all, to be honest, but I can just summarize it
Okay.
up. But try to be curious. Try to find the thing that actually motivates you, that moves you, your passion. Like the whenever you find that something is very interesting for you, you pretty much never have to work ever again because it's not going to be your work. It's going to be your passion, a hobby, something.
Yeah,
So
true.
you name it. And this is and definitely try to touch as many things as you want with your hand. Um, and unless you straight away go into a CISO role or something like that. But yeah, look, and I
Okay.
know few people like it, like the management aspect of cyber, and quite a few companies nowadays are actually making courses for that, like how to be a cyber manager. Whoa, that's amazing. How does cyber different from anything else? I don't know, but anyway, so it's just yeah, try to find something
Okay.
that is interest for you, and never probably remember Bachman. He's a good guy. He's actually this is I took from him. Never always verify your tool. Never trust your tools 100%. Verify whatever your tool's telling you. You need to be able to go there and manually verify it. And this is saves me heaps and heaps of time. Like when you have to actually understand how something works underneath before you start accepting the output of this tool and thinking like, oh, where did it came up from? How this tool actually generated this? Why it's saying that it's this event, nothing else. So I mean, it helps me a lot of time, and I can't thank him enough for kind of putting this sort of attitude into our heads back in 2016. So
Yeah,
this is a very
true.
good sort of attitude.
Thank you so much, Alexander. Thank you for
No worries.
everything. Wow, what an incredible conversation I just had with Alex. So much valuable information, and you can really feel his passion in the way that he speaks and how much invested he is into this field. Tons of great insights and plenty to take away from today's episode. But that's it for today. A huge thanks to Alex for sharing his incredible journey and expertise with us today. I hope that you all enjoyed as much as I did. And please remember to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Also, if you got some comments, feel free to put it as a comment in the podcast or feel free to reach out. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, and always remember cybersecurity isn't just a job, it's a mindset, in Alex's words. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and as always, keep yourself out there in the digital world safe. See you in the next one.